All right, in this video, we're going to design the bottom shelf and draw the bottom shelf based on this tutorial. So let's take a look. Here is our 3D model of our cabinet, at least a portion of the cabinet. And here is our bottom shelf right there. Okay, so I have that highlighted. And so we have to determine the size of that. Okay, so a couple things here we need to understand. Okay, this goes back to our face frame, so I'm going to pull the face frame out. Okay, and actually if we just turn it, there's the face frame. Maybe move it over here, and we need to actually know the width of that face frame, so we have to go back to our drawing. Okay, so that width, total width of the face frame was 14. It really described the width of the entire project. Okay, all right, so knowing that, and actually let me just pull that off to the side there. All right, knowing that, now we can, really talk about the width of this bottom shelf here. Okay, so we've got a little bit of reflection there I got to deal with, but nonetheless, here is the bottom shelf width. You notice that the bottom shelf fits into these dado grooves that we need to create, kind of a ledge for that shelf to sit on, so that's on both sides. Okay, the depth of that cut is halfway through. Okay, halfway through the thickness of our sides. Okay, the actual thickness is 3/4. All right, so for instance, if I go back to maybe my front view, all right, my front view, you can see here half the thickness. Okay, so the depth of that dado is 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so we need to consider that as far as the width of our shelf. Okay, so that math then is going to be, so if I start here and I go, my total width is 14 inches. Okay, I subtract away 3/8 of an inch on both sides. What is that math going to be? Okay, I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay, and then that's going to equal the width of shelf. Okay, all right, so that pretty well describes that. And again, I got a reflection a little bit in there, but it should be okay. All right, so let's go back now and talk about the depth of the shelf. I need to actually move away one of the sides so we can go ahead and take a look, maybe move the back out of the way, and then take a look at the depth. I might have to rotate things around here a little bit. Let's see if I can rotate it and see that. I might have to move this out of the way. And what I'm getting at here is the depth of our shelf goes from the front of our sides to the rabbet groove back here. Okay, so if I zoom in here, you can see the back edge of the rabbet, okay, is where our shelf stops. Okay, all right, so we need to understand the width of the sides. Okay, do you remember the width of the sides? That was part of our drawing not too long ago. Okay, all right, so the width of our sides, if you remember, was 11 1/4 from the front edge all the way back. Okay, the total width or depth of our project of our sides was 11 1/4. So we'd have to subtract off that groove. That was a 1/4 inch groove. So that should give you the math for the bottom shelf. So again, want to subtract this rabbet edge, which is a 1/4 inch, from the entire depth of our side, which was 11 1/4. Okay, so I went ahead and drew my, and I did this 3-dimensionally, and it ends up being a pretty simple drawing. So I went ahead and did this. I kept off the depth and the width here, so I want you to fill that in. Okay, but I did add a little bit of 3-dimensional look to it. The material, by the way, is a 1/2 inch MDF. Okay, the 1/2 inch really doesn't play into any of our calculations, so keep that in mind. It's just the material. Okay, go ahead and make the depth visually, make it work out. It ends up being really a thin board, but your job is to determine the 2 dimensions as far as the depth and the width.